Hello, beautiful communities. This chap has just threatened the coup against Putin, and a few of you have asked me to react to it. So this is Alexander Lunin, who has been doing social media for quite a few months. He is an ex-vet, and he taped a video outlining all kinds of grievances he has about the state of the military, from punishment pits to extortion to extrajudicial violence and killing to dead people being categorized as missing, etc., etc., etc. And he is saying, give me a live audience, and if you don't, the army will turn on you. So let's see what he has to say very briefly. Headphones. Vladimir Vladimirovich, turn your attention to this and invite me to the Kremlin. The consequences will be very, very serious. If in the near term I don't arrive in the Kremlin and appear live with you, next to you, the army will turn about and direct its weapons against the Kremlin. So straight away, you notice this monarchist ideology there that's sort of caught up in a weird sort of false consciousness. On the one hand, the guy is threatening to take Putin out with a coup. On the other hand, the guy can't bring himself about to even begin to question Putin's legitimacy. Putin is a sacralized monarchical figure and the only politically legitimate institution in town. And there is a kind of conflict there. And the conflict is to some extent at the level of images versus thoughts. His thoughts say, well, if we're not happy about this, then there could be a coup, which he knows there couldn't be, as things stand. But he's saying it, and he thinks that if there were one, that would clearly have a certain kind of impact on Putin. In fact, it would probably end Putin's life. But his image of Putin is that Putin cannot be questioned. Putin's essential relation to the war is that he's doing something important for reasons nobody can quite gather. And if things are going really wrong, it must be because there's some kind of disconnect between Putin and reality, and the disconnect just needs to be bridged and fixed. So this confusion is not just performative. You see, if he disappeared into a private realm, he wouldn't just immediately resolve this confusion and say, well, Putin is an idiot, we've got to get rid of him. He'd still persist with this sort of monarchist incapacity to question the legitimacy of the leader, even while talking about getting rid of the leader. Right? That's this kind of unbelievable contradiction that we get with this radically depoliticized political threat. The second thing you see echoes of in this address is something that's become more common in the Z information environment in the last few months, when things have been going on a bunch of measures worse for the Russians. And that's something like the following message. We're stuck and we can't achieve our aspirations, and defeat is a word worth contemplating. But of course, in the end, we're going to win, and God is with us, and God willing, we'll achieve all of our aspirations, and the evil West will fall. We're stuck, we can't win, but we're going to win. With God's help, and our evil enemies will fall. That's, in good part, neoliberalism. That's, in good part, it doesn't matter what the war is, it doesn't matter who is in charge where. This is a kind of fascicized self-advancement in the marketplace. Positioning in the marketplace. And again, that will also translate into the private realm. They'll actually be saying similar stuff in private. We're stuck, we're doomed, it's all bad, God willing, we'll win. So let's say a little bit of more concrete stuff about this. This is done on the anniversary of the Prigozhin mutiny. He claims that 3 people in a black car stopped by, asked him to get in, and told him that he needed to say this stuff. And these people were representatives of important representatives of state. We don't have any information about that, so he could be making that up entirely. There could be some truth to it. So we don't know who these people are or if they're real. His wife has said that as of the last couple of hours when I last checked, that she doesn't know where he is. Their property got raided, all the electronics were taken away, and she thinks that he is in Moscow, but she doesn't know if he has been arrested or not. Now, what would be a problem for Putin here? I mean, at what point would this sort of thing become difficult for Putin? Somebody might say, look, the army is generally not a likely source of coup in Russia because it lacks the adequate political agency. And Putin is very keen that the army lacks the political agency to do a coup on him. And somebody might say, well, it's almost as though the military would first need somebody else to do a coup, change the position of the military so that the military then has the capacity to do a coup. But I think in answer to that, what we can say is that various kinds of discontent emanating out of the military can certainly, in constellation with other things that could happen or byproducts of these kinds of discontent, could trigger instability for the regime, right? So it might be that other agents are better positioned to do a coup, but certainly various kinds of military discontent or even ex-vet discontent could be destabilizing for the regime, depending on what else was the case, right? In this particular instance, what I think would be destabilizing for Putin is if this sort of behavior multiplied. Because this stuff resonated really well. It got millions of views, including on banned social media platforms. And what would happen if there were 25 people addressing Putin like that, all at the same time? I think that would generate a corrosive atmosphere that could then have various kinds of inadvertent byproducts. Doesn't mean Putin would lose power as a result of this, but it would be destabilizing for the regime in a way that would put regime more on edge. Enough for today. Let's love and talk very soon.